Today on answering Ask HR question because I'm banned, part like 3000, we're going to go into quite a few actually legal advice questions. We got a mandatory unpaid breaks question in the United States, specifically in Minnesota. We got a question about a person who wants to take out their piercings in Texas. And finally, we got a person in California that asks if overtime can be mandatory. Let's get right into these wage and hour questions for the most part with the are mandatory unpaid breaks legal. Work allows us to a 30-minute unpaid break each day. Most people skip and just go home early. Most recently, the boss said that they have to take our break. Seems like it may not be legal because I'm under the impression that if a boss is keeping you at work, even if you aren't doing work, you have to be paid for that. Is this legal? Yeah, I mean, this one is a kind of a bit of a gray area, but ultimately, yeah, it is legal under the Fair Labor Standards Act and is frankly required in many states. So it's a little bit frustrating because many people fought for the right to take even an unpaid break regardless, and now there's complaining because you are getting that, but you just don't want to be kept at work. Frankly, many employers would need to keep people there, so they don't go home early in order to simply maintain the work schedule throughout the day. So yes, mandatory unpaid breaks are legal and quite common. The next one up is out of Texas, and the question says, "Can my job make me take out my piercings even if I was hired with them?" They've been working at a job for over 2 years now, hired with two small nose piercings and two lip rings. They've been wearing them since high school. They were pulled in by the employee relations manager and said, the piercings are a distraction, said that my manager hired them with the same piercings and jewelry 2 years ago and was told that tattoos and piercings weren't an issue. And they'd like to know who complained because they felt like it was a personal attack. And so then the question is, can I fight this? Can I find a loophole to wear smaller jewelry instead of taking out piercings that I've had for years and mean a lot to me? So a couple questions. For one, the question of who asked this is probably the most immature, or who complained about me is probably the most immature question that I've literally ever got. I understand that I understand why people might want to know, but it's incredibly immature to ask about it. It's not a personal attack, or quite frequently, it's not a personal attack. And then the next thing is, trying to find a quote loophole is again pretty childish as well. And it's kind of strange. For one, you could wear. I think there are spacers. There's ways to wear clear jewelry so that you can keep your piercing, but have no visible jewelry. I would recommend that when things like that happen. And assuming that there isn't any considerations along religious lines or something of that nature, yeah, absolutely, a job can make you take out your piercings. Now, there are some strange ADA considerations for different facial expression and appearance discussions, but ultimately, this guidance has told you that you have to be well groomed, et cetera, et cetera, and so they've given you fairly good guidance. And so it sounds like they're trying to treat you fair, but ultimately, yes, the job can make you take piercings out, even if you were hired with them. Then next up, out of California, the question is, can overtime be mandatory? For example, let's say you work 40 hours a week and your boss asks you to come in on your day off. Can you decline without worry of punishment? Now, in California, there is some question surrounding this, specifically when with respect to notice, right? So if you in certain industries, if you give a very limited notice, you're not allowed to give limited notices, but that means that ultimately the employer could just require you to always be in, and always to be in the shop. With respect to this, if this is all that's for consideration, that they asked you to work 40 hours a week and the boss asked you to come in, you can't decline. Ultimately, you would need to come in, and they would need to pay you for that time. There isn't the ability to decline it. Now, in some states, including California, there is a 1 day of rest in 7, and so that is out there. But on its face, in this respect, with no other information, yes, this absolutely can be mandatory. Let me know what you think, whether or not overtime should be mandatory or not in the comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.